Well, let's now design the masthead for the first page. So we'll pick our magnify tool and click in on the zone for our masthead. We'll hide some of our palettes at the moment to give us some space with which to work. So we're going to put a frame running across the top there to hold the masthead. Now it'll have graphics and text in it, and the simplest way to put such a frame is to click in that position there and then just drag across. And again, the best way to get that sized correctly, rather than just rely on dragging it as I've done there, is to actually type the width and height values into the text box. You'll note, say, a width of 128, and I think the suggestion for the height is 44 millimeters. Once you hit the enter key, if you watch carefully, the frame will be resized, and we need to move it down, don't we? So it's already picked, so we can move it down and it clicks nicely into position. So what we now have is a precise size for that frame, 128 millimeters wide by 44 millimeters high, and it's ready to take the design. We can now design the masthead up. I think the example in your notes has a frame placed on the left hand side which would hold a bottle, so we'll drag it up like so, clicking into position. Now we need to reorganize the fitting in that bottle, don't we? So it's object and fitting, and we want to fit the content proportionally, and that's now been done. We can drag that across to that left hand side. So we now have a bottle sitting in position, and what we now can do is put a frame in the middle to hold some text saying something like Primo Vera Distributors. So we'll put another frame in. For the moment we'll just click it roughly in the central position, because I'm thinking we'll have a couple of bottles on the left and a couple of bottles on the right. The frame's gone in. If we click the text tool and then click that frame, then our I bar shows in that frame. So we're going to say Primo Vera Distributors will be the text that we're going to put in there. Now clearly that text is far too small. We'll drag back over it and adjust the height of that text. We'll pick down here, we'll pick say 48, that's too big, isn't it? We'll go to 30 point seems to be reasonable. Now don't get tempted to move the frame around to position the text in the way you want it. We can do that later. What we might do now is to put another frame on the right hand side, place another wine bottle. That was a Cabernet Sauvignon, I think. So if we go File and Place, we can pick a Shiraz bottle, and it's come into that central zone, hasn't it? That's my mistake. Let's edit and undo that. What I had neglected to do was to stop the highlighting of that frame. You need to get in the habit of clicking away, and now we can place that Shiraz bottle in position over here. I'll just place it roughly in position. Object and fitting and fit content proportionally. Drag across there, get hold of it and snap it into position and drag up so that it matches. I'll zoom in on there. You should never work too far zoomed out, nor should you go too far in as I just did then. Now we can scroll across. That's better. We can work much more comfortably with that view. So I can just drag that down and click it nicely into position so that we have a text frame in the middle. We have a couple of image frames on either side. What we'd like to do is to organize the distribution of the text in that text frame so that it sits nicely in position. Well, one way we can organize the positioning of the text within the frame is just to select the frame, then right click on it, and somewhere here, text frame options, we have quite a lot of options that can control things within our box. I'll just move that down for the moment and off to one side. we'd like the vertical justification at the moment has stayed at alignment top. Yours may not be. We'd like it centered in that frame, and we'll have an indent, we'll guess about 10 mil, and we'll go OK. Well, that's worked reasonably well. You can see the 10 mil gap between the edge of the frame there. Now, I haven't used a guide to help me yet position the left-hand side of the frame. If you notice, we start at 10 mil and go to 70 mil, so we have a 35 would 10, 70, 60, 30, so we want to go across to 40. If I tear across a guide, sit it at 40, then that guide there sits nicely in the middle of that column, and I can just snap that frame there, tear off another guide. We want 30 on from this point, which is 78, so 30 on that will be 108. Come across here, my mathematics is not good, 108 is there, and again we can pick up the frame and move it like so. So I now have my text frame in the middle set nicely, a couple of bottles on either side. I always like to see what the layout's looking like at this stage, so let's go View, and hide the frame edges, and View, hide the guides, and click away. And now if I zoom out a little, I'm looking nicely at the page layout. Now I might decide to put one or possibly two more bottles there to give me a nice impression of a wine distributor. I might like to put some shadowing effects on those bottles as well, but that's getting a little too far from where we are at the moment. Let's leave it at this point, just a couple of wine bottles and the heading. Now we need to go on and place our stories and get things organized across other pages.